even if you brush in a rush. Brisk fluoride toothpaste starts instant action against tooth decay. Brisk, B-R-I-S-K, Brisk.
It's both wonderful and challenging when history stares you in the face at the same time as the present and future. It's our connections to each other and the past which breathe life into us. They come and go too quickly, and the future is now. But we can reach out and touch them forever. Most of all, we can embrace them as part of our being, because they are part of our journey, past, present, and future.
We stand within an ancient brand new now. At once, within an empty corner devoid of vision, an angle formed by two lines meeting, the meeting point itself a standstill, and then, beyond the point, a yearning, a fierce longing to make another start, create a vision of geometric movement at every point. No static or statistic stagnating between fact and fiction. Instead, a vision where numbers, letters, words are worlds of sound, of special meanings, imbued with feeling. Significant signatures, signposts of others' lives, which intersect with ours as they give, as they receive, through spoken and through written word, all shouting gleefully of life as one. Each one, the chiming of a bell within creation's symphony, part of a variation on one theme. What was once considered least significant now brings a joyful recognition of otherness as self, as our most holy, innermost, most cherished, and most private inner self.
It's both wonderful and challenging when history stares you in the face at the same time as the present and future. It's our connections to each other and the past which breathe life into us. They come and go too quickly, and the future is now. But we can reach out and touch them forever. Most of all, we can embrace them as part of our being because they are a part of our journey, past, present, and future.
How do we measure time? It feels ephemeral in nature. Past, present, and future melding within a kaleidoscopic adventure. Relationships, especially bound by love, bind the ties of time. All we've ever been, are, and will be, are interwoven with everyone we've ever known and will know, especially those we love. Fact is often stranger than fiction, and fiction seems more real when drawn from the depths of our being. Our yearning compels us to create amazing possibilities.
Nazareth, Texas is a place of survival and lives well lived in the midst of a timeless yet disappearing way of life, an almost magical gift from the Panhandle, where fact and fiction create their own reality. The Panhandle is a part of Texas unfamiliar to most outsiders. Nazareth, between Amarillo and Lubbock, is a small town, hidden from view within the vast open landscape.
On the surface, Nazareth seems forgotten by time, and yet it's as busy as any large city. The land calls out to those who know it well, whether they've stayed on to make a life or are long gone to seek another path. Faith, family, farm, and education bind the ties carried by the ephemeral winds. They whisper the stories of past, present, and future. There's much to say about a disappearing way of life.
Why is anyone attracted to a small town hidden off the main highway? We humans have always wandered the earth in search for a home. Even when we find one, we continue to travel far and wide to distant places, only to return to the land of our heart. Faith, family, farm, and education are at the heart of Nazareth. As far as the eye can see, the land is there to protect and nurture in good times and in bad, as do the church, family, and school. They feed the belly as well as the soul and bind families one to the other.
Shared values nurture love and life which grow in the earth surrounding the home places. Secrets abound, yet are privately held and respected, part of the fabric of being. The church and its cemetery signify the importance of past, present, and future. A feeling of safety and importance reigns supreme within the realities of an ever-changing world.
All the townspeople are rookies at heart, because memories are rich with what was good and innocent and which can be felt again and again. Simplicity reigns, the ultimate sophistication. Nazareth is its own outer space-related wormhole, providing connections between the past, present, and future. Other small panhandle towns are like black holes, where all has been destroyed and is void of connection. Nazareth thrives as its own time-space continuum, where multiple dimensions meet and all is possible.
The world calls to Nazareans. It isn't always an easy choice. The way of life is changing, and yet it is the same. Mystery abounds in the winds, which turn the modern-day wind turbines, dotting the landscape amidst the ever-present crops. The winds of time often call the children of Nazareth home. Truth lies within the layers of history and the memories which provide bridges for transformation demanded by the passage of time. Nazareth is a place to feel safe, enjoy recognition, and be rejuvenated by faith, hard work, and education, fueled by generations of family, breathing life into miles of land.
Nature itself, along with technology, provides survival techniques to combat the challenging aspects of nature. While from anywhere in town you can hear the underlying Benedictine spirit within the church bells tolling that all is well. Listen for the rooster's crow and the low of a cow as the sun rises on the golden spread day.
Like the town, true love stories never end. They are timeless. Sometimes love finds its way when least expected and in unexpected places. The saga continues of a tale of epic proportions, of lovers separated by a journey, lovers tested by time together, a journey required by disappearing time, a desire to be together managed by a need to be apart, love to be continued.
May 2010 was a typically quiet and peaceful time in the Texas Panhandle. The comfort of continuity is bathed in the morning light, the best of the golden spread day.
What color is the wind?
That's what you asked your grandpa when you were a boy.
I still don't know the answer.
Maybe it's more of a rhetorical, philosophical question. I guess you'll have to be satisfied that the color of the wind is the eye of the beholder.
A scientist would probably have a different take on it, given dust particles, gases, and the sun's influence.
Don't forget ionic bonding. Speaking of ions, more like eons, it's been several years since our last visit to Naz, since your mom and dad passed on. I feel that familiar peace which washes over me when we're here. It seems light years away from my childhood in New York. Back then, my idea of an interesting day was to go into Manhattan with my mom, take a dance class, visit with my grandma, and see a Broadway show.
That Long Island princess became my Babette.
I'll take that as a compliment, and you're still a Bubba at heart, at least my Bubba. I miss coming to the Panhandle and visiting with your mom and dad at the home place. There's something peaceful about the Caprock, straight roads and fields as far as the eye can see. In some ways, it feels like yesterday when I came to Nazareth and met you and your family.
Yepper, do you remember what you thought?
The short or long version?
Reader's Digest version.
Some things never change. You're still a man of few words. The first surprise was the small size of Lubbock Airport. The second was how young you looked. You seemed too young to drive. When I asked your age, you said, old enough. We drive young here. You didn't say much after that. I felt like a news reporter interviewing a reluctant subject. In the silence, I enjoyed the long, straight, treeless back roads and landscape for miles around.
Do you remember what you said to my aunt at her holiday party?
I complimented her for inviting the townspeople. How was I to know that everyone there was only a small part of her immediate family?
It was a special time filled with good memories leading to a great future. And that, my Babette, was your welcome to the world of Nazareth.
This is Cotton John.
Fall 1967. It's been a quiet week in Nazareth. Most of them are. About the only thing going on in the town is the daily meeting at the hardware store. A cup of coffee early in the morning or a bottle of pop in the afternoon is enough reason to talk for a few minutes. Most of the talk revolves around the drought. Of course, if there isn't a drought in progress, there's too much rain. In either case, it needs to be discussed. Usually, the conversations are the same. Sure could use some rain. Yeah, it's drier than a popcorn fart. It would sure be nice to shut down the wells. The crops will look better if we get some nice showers. Sure are going to need some rain before we can plant. It's always interesting that they can only say one sentence at a time. Maybe they have to stop and think. More likely, they want to take another sip of their drink. Normally, it's impossible to have an automobile accident in Nazareth. There are 2 times a day when an accident can occur. when the 2 school buses run, and when the hardware store conversation breaks up. On a good day, 4 or 5 vehicles can be seen in town at one time. There's almost a need for stop signs, but then most of the farmers are too busy to stop. North of town, Mama R is ticked off. Few things in life are more miserable than having her ticked off. The dust won't stop blowing and has been building up on the windowsills to the point that a person can ride in it. Mama R's youngest child, Tracy, isn't old enough for school and is bored. It's too windy to play outside and Mama R is busy making clothes. Tracy goes to the window to watch for her big brother to return from school. She can have fun with him when he takes her along on after his school chores. Innocently, her finger moves from the window to the windowsill. Tracy's learning how to spell and likes to practice. And so the messages in the dust begin. Clean me, I'm dirty, and who cares are written on the sills in different rooms. When Mama R sees what Tracy is doing, she's so ticked that Tracy runs out of the house and hides in the barn to avoid the inevitable. The story makes it around town, and Tracy's been the subject of the hardware store conversations for a week. But that's about to change with the arrival of a visitor to Nazareth, where the women are unpredictably strong, the men are handsome, and the children defy being average.
We're here.
Where?
Getting close to Nazareth.
You're kidding, right? There's nothing but miles of land, fencing, and a blinking light way down the road.
We also have 3 liquor stores, a gas station, and a convenience store that way. Downtown will come up a couple blocks on our left.
Why 3 liquor stores?
We're the only town for miles around that can legally sell liquor.
Buzzing metropolis must be hiding.
It does that quite easily.
Where are the houses and the crops?
The houses are behind small groups of trees. Milo and field corn have been harvested. We're still working the cotton, and it's wheat planting time. I can show you a cotton field over the weekend.
Not many trees.
It's hard for trees to grow naturally here. Moisture's an issue. We ship them in. Elms are pretty much the only trees which grow here. Trees are good wind protection. Best planted in rows.
Where's your home?
Behind some trees a few miles from here.
Ah, another mystery. I await with bated breath.
You ask a lot of questions. Are you a reporter?
I'm beginning to feel like one. You don't talk much, do you? You haven't said much since picking me up at the airport. Small, like a private airport, in comparison to Kennedy.
I do what I'm told. I was told to pick up a lady from New York at the airport. No offense, but you don't look like a lady.
Maybe I should take that as an insult. What do I look like?
Fresh out of college, just a few years older than me.
Good guess. Close enough.
What part of New York?
Long Island, near the Atlantic Ocean, about 40 minutes south of Manhattan.
A foreigner from a Nazarene point of view. What are you doing here?
Field work.
You don't look like a field hand.
Not that kind of field work. I'll be working with students in language arts. I'm trying out some teaching theories.
What language?
English.
Oh.
You don't look too excited.
English isn't my best subject.
Join the crowd. English functions like a second language for most English-speaking Americans, especially when they write letters. Maybe I'll have you in one of my tutoring groups.
I'll drop you off in town so you can put your luggage in your room. I was told to bring you home for dinner.
Why didn't you tell me? We already ate.
It's no big deal, just my family. We were delayed and hungry. They'll understand.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Only 4 brothers and 3 sisters.
Only?
Around here, that's a smaller family. Average is 10 to 13.
I have a brother. Your family sounds like a football team.
Sometimes it is. Here we are.
Where? All I see is a cemetery.
The nunnery.
The what?
That building behind the grave sites is the nunnery. It's where all the teachers live.
You have nuns in Nazareth?
They're the teachers.
I thought I'd be teaching in a public school, not a private Catholic school.
It is a public school. Service and religious education are at the church before school starts.
Wild guess. The principal is a priest?
Can't fool you. Not anymore. Used to be. We have a superintendent. It's an independent school district.
This ought to be an interesting separation of church and state. I wanted an adventure. I guess this is it. You never told me your name.
Will, what should I call you?
Anything, as long as it's not formal. Can you call me Kamala? Or is that too informal for conservative Texas boy speaking to a lady? How old are you? You look too young to drive.
The nuns and my parents will tell me what to call you in public. I'll call you Kamala in private as long as you don't call me redneck. I'm 18. I've been driving for years in fields and to the grain elevator.
I didn't call you a redneck. Didn't the police stop you on the highway?
Sometimes thoughts speak louder than words. New Yorkers probably think blue jeans, cowboy hat, and boots mean illiterate. The police don't care. It's our way of life, and work includes the whole family.
Not any more than you think New Yorker equates with belligerent, loud, pushy, and know-it-all.
How'd you end up in Nazareth?
I met a gal in dance class in Manhattan. She's from Amarillo. Her mother's a teacher and heard from a friend that an English mentor was needed in Nazareth. I was a language major, theater, and ed minor. I was bored with Broadway auditions and wanted to broaden my experience with work and students in a rural town. The application process for the Peace Corps and volunteers in service to America was time-consuming. I felt sheltered in my upbringing and wanted to explore another way of life outside of New York. Plus, I've been studying new teaching techniques that I want to try out.
Interesting. Next time I'll ask for the Reader's Digest version. Unless it's about the weather. We don't need long explanations around here.
I'll take that under advisement.
Now you sound like a lawyer.
Family hazard. My dad went to law school.
I better not give you a reason to sue me.
He didn't finish. He's a business executive, but legal training comes in handy.
For you or him?
Cute. I'm sure a little legal knowledge is helpful around here.
In one way or another, most of us are related. If we can't settle matters over a fence or turn row, we pull out our pistols and have a duel.
I hope you're kidding. I don't like guns.
Can't fool you. I'll have to get you some target practice.
Are you always sardonic?
It's a way of life here. Boots, guns, and sarcasm. Do you always use $10 words like sardonic?
It's a way of life in my family. No guns, just big words. If we can't talk our way out of a situation, we're dead meat. Besides, sardonic says a lot more than sarcastic. You'll learn more of that in one of my language arts classes. Are there any arts activities I can participate in?
The priest teaches painting in the church basement.
Why the basement? Is it a secret?
You're funny. The nunnery has a 5 a.m. wake-up call.
Why 5? I'll be teaching, not running a dairy.
Funny and clever.
Only when I get lucky. True cleverness was when Thomas Edison was inspired by the 1878 solar eclipse to create the light bulb.
If you like history, we're rich in it around here. We have our own museum. We're rich in German culture. I'm 4th generation Nazareth. All the land from the main highway north to the church was originally owned by the Thier family. Over time, it was traded or sold to other families, and the downtown area was developed. What there is of it, pretty small, but we like it that way.
Any community events?
Lots. Weddings, funerals, baptisms, 50th wedding anniversaries, huge family reunions. You missed our town Labor Day and school homecoming activities, but there will be holiday events including small family reunions. There are always livestock shows, and you're in time to see families working in fields, including some of your students. Over the weekend, I'll take you out on a tractor and show you a cotton field, wheat seeding, and cattle. It'll help you to learn a little about our way of life before you start tutoring with big words. If we're going to learn your brand of English, you'll need to learn ours. Welcome to Nazareth. Mom, Dad.
I'm Kamala. Nice to meet you. What should I call you?
Nice to meet you. You can call me Mary.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Welcome to Nazareth. I'm George.
Dinner's on the stove. We ate with the kids earlier and sent them to spend a couple of days with Grandma and Grandpa.
Thanks, but we were hungry and ate in Lubbock. When we get busy with chores and field work, grandparents help with the younger ones. The older ones are at college.
Too small to help?
That and my mother and George's father's love having them around.
When do you start at the school?
Monday.
Would you like dessert and coffee?
No, thank you. I don't eat many sweets or drink coffee. May I have a glass of warm milk?
Help yourself. We're informal.
Will, want cobbler?
Yipper. Is it from the batch I made?
Yes.
You bake?
We all do everything around here. Do you bake?
No one in my family really bakes. Mom experiments. Her banana bread is really good. She taught me enough about cooking, so I won't starve. I'm more interested in nutrition and food sources.
You'll learn all about food sources here.
Yes,
she will.
I couldn't find the milk.
Some was left from breakfast in the metal container.
Oh, I was looking for a glass or a plastic jug.
We milk our cows in the morning.
Cows. Interesting. I guess it's whole milk?
We separate the cream.
Great. I gave up whole milk.
I guess you didn't grow up on a farm.
Not quite.
Nice kitchen. Lots of modern appliances. You must spend a lot of time in the grocery store with such a big family.
What do you mean?
There are only 4 of us in my family, and my mom has to go to the store at least twice a week.
We have our own animals, fruit trees, and vegetable garden. We eat what we raise. I only go to the grocery for dry goods.
The crops in the fields are mostly for mass distribution. We can tell you all about that. He can put you to work with farm chores in the mornings before your classes so you can learn firsthand.
He's kidding. I'll show you after you've had time to settle in.
Great idea. In a few weeks.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Not much to tell.
Have you worked with students before?
In Manhattan Elementary School and summer camp, and babysitting in high school and college.
Your parents must be pleased.
They just want me to be happy and enjoy whatever I do. This will be the first time I'm away from New York for such a long time. I hope someone will let me pay for calls home to my parents.
No problem. What's your hometown like?
It's one of a string of small towns on Long Island. Compared to what I've seen of Nazareth so far, my community resembles a combination spa resort and psychiatric center. Just kidding.
We have a pool one town over in Tulia where we take the kids swimming in summer. Is your family home near water?
The Atlantic Ocean. During the summer when I visit my parents on Long Island, we go swimming in the ocean and the pool. I wouldn't recommend swimming in the Hudson or East Rivers in Manhattan.
Is the pool near the ocean or at your family home?
The club we belong to is on the ocean and it has its own pool.
Club?
We have clubs for everything on Long Island. Yachts, golf, tennis, and beach. Most of the people where I grew up don't equate home or lifestyle with farm or ranch animals. Just pet cats and dogs, and they're all pampered members of the family. Most families think that eating outside usually involves an organized barbecue to avoid cooking in the kitchen on a hot day or a catered affair. Raising livestock, butchering it, and cooking it over an open fire, or showing up on the dinner table is something they would only see in the movies or on TV. Probably a Western.
Kamal is not familiar with the Reader's Digest style of conversation. We also name what we kill. The time of slaughter is indicated by the name on the meat packages when we get them from the butcher and freeze them.
You eat Susie, Joe, etc.?
Yipper.
The people where I grew up would probably have a nervous breakdown after citing child and animal cruelty laws.
Oh, look at the time. Let's get you back to the nunnery. The nuns have early lights out.
Good morning. The school year is off to a wonderful start. From the kindergartners all the way to the seniors, I have seen many great attitudes. The theme this year is Be a Hero. Have heart, enthusiasm, respect, and optimism. Each and every one of you has the ability to be a hero. How, you might ask? By doing your best each and every minute of every day. Whether you are doing homework, competing in extracurricular events, or relating to your peers. The heart is one of the strongest muscles in our body. It is also one of the most important. Without it, we would most certainly die. Having heart can be the difference between success and failure. Having heart means giving your all. It means never giving up, even when you are tired or beaten down by defeat. It means loving what you are doing and persevering to the end. Just as we die when our heart stops working, participating in any activity without heart can lead to defeat. Let's give it our all this year to make it the most successful year to date. Enthusiasm is defined as intense and eager enjoyment, interest, or approval. It means throwing ourselves into a relationship, goal, dream, or activity. It means casting aside worries or distractions and embracing instead the delights of the moment or the hope of the success. Enthusiasm makes us feel fully alive. Respect means following the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated at all times. When someone does something that irritates you, just remember, they are doing their best. We never know what others are going through. If we cannot learn to understand one another, if we cannot see that there are different views than our own, if we cannot learn to love the person with a different face, a different race, or a different religion, then we are actively choosing to show disrespect. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. This quote by Helen Keller is the secret to her success. If anyone ever had a reason to feel sorry for herself and give up, it would be Helen Keller. Instead, she chose to use the 3 senses that she did have and become an amazing woman. Optimism is a feeling of hope and confidence. It is waking up each morning with a positive attitude and focusing on what we do have instead of what we don't have. It's the ability to see the brighter side of things. I am optimistic that this is going to be a great year. You know, I am no superhero, but by having heart, enthusiasm, respect, and optimism, I can be a hero. More importantly is, you can be a hero each and every day. And when you are, this school, community, and world become a much better place. Be a hero and continue to have a great year.
Do you ever feel like an explorer? We're all explorers. Explorers of a very special, timeless cocoon. Every now and then, we break out of the cocoon, which seems to define us. We emerge from our cocoon and become a beautiful butterfly. What color butterfly are you today? Or is today a cocoon kind of day? What is the true comfort of your soul? We are each explorers of a timeless cocoon, ourselves, each on a unique journey through time and space, exploring within ourselves all that we can be. And when we least expect it, like a butterfly, we emerge from our cocoon. We discover our gifts with which we fly off and share with the world. Each moment an opportunity to create our future, each moment a timeless, savored memory, a gift from the true comfort of our soul. You are an explorer of a timeless cocoon, yourself. What is the true comfort of your soul? We are each our own invention, limited only by our imagination and effort. Being creative is like being a rainbow. The colors keep changing with the sun, rain, and clouds. Colors, vivid or pale, vary with the earth's weather. Like rainbow, creativity is forever coming and going. It changes a mood, a moment, a day, even a life. Just when the caterpillar thought the world had ended, it became a beautiful butterfly. Sometimes, just when the darkness seems it will never end, we emerge from our cocoon into the beautiful light and fly. Cocooning, then flying, can be an ever-shifting way of being. The eternal light of knowledge and creativity burns brightly, shape-shifting the daily mysterious journey of how we evolve. What color butterfly will you be today? Class, I have to go to the office. You can discuss your homework, take an idea from the poem, and be prepared to share how it relates to your life and your goals. You can share it as an essay, visual art, performance, or in any other form which works for you. You can work alone or with others. It will be due a week from Monday. That gives you plenty of time, including 2 weekends. If you have questions, you know how to find me. I heard that. If you think this assignment is strange, you'll love what other projects I have in mind. It's a time of change. You don't want to be left behind.
School looks just like I remember it.
Me too. I love the smell of older schools.
What essay did you prepare?
I remember this good essay.
Here, you read it.
You didn't cut me any slack.
You need to practice reading your work out loud.
You turned into a great storyteller.
When we move away from small town living, what will we give up in exchange for what we hope to get? Is small town living really living small? And is living in a big city really living large? History tells us that people are communal by nature. We like to eat, work, play, learn, and pray, and even mourn in groups. Even when issues anger us, we form committees, picket lines, marches, and mobs to make our views known. People from big cities probably consider the Texas Panhandle a boring, empty landscape with people living far apart. What they fail to appreciate is what we have and what we do together. Behind the illusion of vast open areas are long days of working together close to the land that gives us Behind the illusion of vast open areas are long days of working together close to the land that gives everything life. You can work as long and as hard as time and body permits to seed and breed all that sustain lives. You can make time to play just as hard, and there's plenty of sun, space, air, and sky to do it all. Every small town has fun things to share as well as work and the difficult challenges. It's about people doing it together. Whatever I decide to do after college, I hope to remember to allow Nazareth and how I grew up to remain a part of who I am, but not dictate who I become.
Nice work. Your writing and reading are improving. Why are Dalmatians a symbol for a firehouse?
Who cares?
I should have written about the color of the wind.
It's about questions which make for interesting essays and stretching your imagination.
Why are Dalmatians a firehouse symbol?
You suggested weird subjects.
You find out and write about it.
Right. The color of wind is a common subject.
I prefer the question, what color is the wind?
Smart boy. I still don't know.
What made you think of that?
Some things never change. Your eternal question.
I was remembering one of our tractor rides when I told you the story about my grandfather and me when I was 5. We were riding in his truck. It was a windy day. I asked him, what color is the wind? He didn't have an answer. I still want one.
It's a good question and would make a nice story. You should write about it. Speaking of family, I'm being moved to some family's home this weekend. A new nun needs my room at the nunnery. I think the visiting Mother Superior feels I'm too chummy with the younger nuns, and I'll lead them astray. I'm picking up an I don't like you vibe. All I did was teach them some jazz dance moves.
I know.
This was fun.
Know what?
The Nazareth Instant Party Line.
All of the above.
A way of life.
How can you know? Some of it I'm not sure of, and the rest I just found out from the principal.
You can't fart in this town without everyone knowing. Nazareth is like one big extended family. Besides, I know the family and the Mother Superior. Your room is needed for a new nun, but you're not far from the truth about how Mother Superior feels about you. Don't take it too seriously. She grew up in Nazareth. She and Grandma Clara have been good friends since grade school.
You're such a wealth of knowledge. Interesting. Your grandma and Mother Superior don't seem like the same type to be such good friends.
Maybe it's a case of opposites attracting. As for knowing that you're moving, it's not rocket science. You're moving to my family's home place. I'm supposed to help you move. I'll meet you out front after school. Oh, and guess who's coming to dinner? Even though you've only been here a few months, you seem to have settled in. Are you always so comfortable when in unfamiliar territory?
I guess I feel like a citizen of the world, even though I haven't traveled a lot. It's on my to-do list.
I hope you haven't found our tractor talks about crops and doing farm chores boring.
Not at all. Everything I'm learning and doing will probably help me someday in unexpected ways. And if it doesn't, it's all good anyway. Like knowing the wheat will turn green and then a golden color. Besides, you're a good teacher. A natural.
Do you think you'll always work with kids?
In some way, probably. My interests are broad. I want it all, but I'm not passionate enough about any one thing for long. My mother says that without the passion lasting, I won't make my goal happen. You work hard helping with the crops. You seem to have a passion for it. You're also serious about your schoolwork. Are you going to be a farmer or study ag science at college?
Passion or not, sometimes destiny plays its hand.
Aren't you a little young to be thinking about destiny?
Weren't you at my age?
I don't remember. What makes you think I've ever thought about destiny?
People like you usually do.
People like me? What does that mean?
Nazareth teaches you a lot about people. Even the animals teach us.
Back up. Not the tractor. What makes you think I've thought about destiny?
You're a deep thinker.
I'm glad you think you know me. I wish I did.
Maybe we don't need to know who we are in order to get where we're going.
Interesting. Do you know who you are? You act like you do, and you're no shallow thinker.
For now, I'm part of Nazareth, this life. But times are changing. That will affect my choices. Family, farming, and ranching isn't what it used to be, and it will be changing even more. Mom and Dad want us kids to go to college and not look back. They don't think agriculture will support families in the future in the same way.
What do you mean?
The smaller and self-contained farms and ranches won't make enough to survive the competition.
Everything around here looks big to me. Miles and miles of land, crops and animals. What's going to change that?
The small family operations will have to join forces, form co-ops. A lot of operations will be bought out by large corporations, national and international.
What's your plan?
I'm going to college.
Are Texas state schools affordable? Where I'm from, almost all the colleges are expensive.
State schools are affordable, but I'm going out of state.
Pricey, especially when you're from out of state.
Not in my case.
What am I missing here?
It was offered.
Am I back to playing roving reporter and 20 questions?
I was offered a scholarship.
That's great. Why didn't you tell me? Very impressive.
It's no big deal.
Yes, it is. You're modest. I'm sure there's a story in all this.
That's the reporter in you.
I promise not to spread it around or publish it in the Castor County News.
Last year, the school guidance counselor submitted me as an applicant for the National Science Foundation Awards summer program at the university. He didn't tell me because it was a long shot. Only 2 students in each state get selected. I was selected. At the end of the summer, the dean asked if I wanted to return next year. I told him that my family couldn't afford an expensive, out-of-state college. He said, "We're offering you a full scholarship."
Wow!
Sit down and you'll get hurt. It's just a part of life. What's the big deal?
You're so understated. I bet your parents were excited. Mine were when I got a scholarship.
Interesting. Not my parents' style. They're proud of me, but no one gets excited around here unless we've won a basketball or football game or get rain. The Swiftettes girls basketball team gets more attention.
I've noticed. It's the first I've heard of a varsity girls basketball team in high school. They've won lots of championships. Someone should write a national story about them. Since you've brought up destiny, maybe this scholarship is part of your destiny. Like you said, maybe we don't have to know who we are or exactly where we're going, but we get there anyway. You're certainly going somewhere unexpected.
Here we must run as fast as we can just to stay in place. And if you wish to go anywhere, you must run twice as fast as that.
What?
It's a quote from Alice in Wonderland. Maybe we just have to work hard and with purpose each day, and the future takes care of itself.
That reminds me of Isaac Asimov's predestination paradox and causality, looped events in space-time.
You're full of surprises. What made you think of that? Interesting coincidence. I read about that last summer.
My brain is eclectic. I never know what I'll find interesting. Science, including biochemistry, intrigues me, but I don't have the patience for math and chemistry. Speaking of math, what's going to happen with your calculus test? I heard the teacher is ill.
The guidance counselor asked me to teach it.
You're kidding, right?
Why would I kid about a thing like that? It's no big deal. I'll read a chapter ahead and teach it to the other 4 students in the class the next day.
Will you get paid?
No, I'm just helping the school and the students who want to get credit for their class for college.
That's funny and poetic at the same time. You must have amazing powers of concentration to be able to do that. Sometimes I think I have an attention problem. I shift from my interest in theater, singing, and dancing to working with kids to science or to something else. I vacillate from needing a lot of privacy to thinking and do research to perform in front of hundreds of people. There are moments when it all comes together and I feel I found my passion. Then I discover something new but related which engages my interest.
I'm interested in a lot of things also, but I don't question it like you do. Maybe you just need more patience with yourself. Try not to overthink it.
You think I'm impatient? I'm calmer than most people where I come from.
Compared to us, you're the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. You can make coffee nervous. It's a good thing you don't drink it. Besides, worrying doesn't change anything. It's about choices. You'll make yours or they'll find you. Just enjoy the ride a little more. What's your goal? I doubt it's a lot of theater curtain calls.
I want a life filled with discovery and growth, not stagnation. My friends want me to settle down and marry a wealthy boy next door. I want something different. I just don't know what, where, or how.
Do you think about getting married? They marry young around here, even if they go to college.
I have friends praying I won't be an old maid. The subject has been coming up since I started dating at 15. You do the math. Times are changing, and so am I. It's not wise to marry till I know who I am.
Any pressure from your parents?
No. Once I was close to getting engaged, but something told me he wasn't the right choice. Maybe it had something to do with my dad always referring to him as the missing link. Seriously, my parents just want me to be happy, and I think I can have marriage, career, and family. My mom's a teacher. My mom said something interesting about love before I came here. We can't plan who we'll love. She said I could fall in love with a rabbi. I laughed because my parents do their own thing, and I'm a third-generation American non-temple goer. But we talk about faith, family history, and lots of religions.
Somehow, I don't see you with a rabbi.
I'm more interested in a rabbinic or priestly spirit than a title.
Many are called, few are chosen.
Are you speaking of the clergy or marriage?
You know what you want? Sorry. You know what you want? You just don't know it yet. You chose to come here, didn't you? Maybe this is just one moment like many others that headed your way. Eventually, you'll get where you need to be.
For one so young, how did you get so wise?
Maybe it has something to do with spending time alone working the land and watching animals.
If only we could know what our parents and grandparents know.
Do you really think that would change your choices? Look around, especially up. I watch the birds and planes when I'm out here working alone. It reminds me that I'm going somewhere, even if I don't know where. Sometimes I imagine myself flying like birds on a gust of wind.
Our house is a half hour from Kennedy Airport. Sometimes I sit in our backyard and watch the planes and wonder where they'll take me. I'm certain I'm going somewhere. I just don't know where. Sometimes I imagine myself traveling for work on a project with a briefcase, complete with miniature equipment I'll need. Phone, camera, movie and music player, recorder and typewriter. I'm impatient to know where I'm going and when. Too bad I don't have a crystal ball. Now there's an interesting but controversial subject.
You do have a crystal ball. It's right here.
Will, are the kids asleep?
Yipper, helping with the chores knocked them out. They helped me in the barn with repairs and oiling the tractor. It was so cold they begged me to let them come back into the house.
They didn't get out of doing chores. I taught them how to fight the dust on the windowsills. The wind doesn't want to die down. Then we cleaned out kitchen cabinets.
Let's see if we can get a weather report. We need a good soaking rain.
Weather certainly is a popular subject around this town. I've learned more about weather since I've been here than ever before.
Damn, that marks the end of a great era. Good guy. I met him at the state fair. His ag reports were spot on. I need a beer. Any in the icebox?
Get me one. Every morning for over 15 years, I listened to his weather and ag report while I fixed breakfast and Mom and the older kids and the younger ones got dressed.
We could hear his report all over the house. Even the younger ones could quote him.
His voice got me moving in the morning after Dad got me up with his personal alarm clock of pulling my toes. Listening to Cotton John was the key to knowing what chores to do first.
I guess Royce Bodisford will become Farm and Ranch Director for KGNC. Royce is pleasant to listen to and knows his stuff, but it won't be the same without Cotton John to start my day.
For us New Yorkers, it's hearing Walter Cronkite's trusted voice. I was just trying to say I understand. Why are the beer bottles so plain? No label.
Homemade beer. Cotton John was not only important to us in the Panhandle, he was a world traveler and spread the word about Texas and its important contribution to the U.S. economy, and how golden spread agriculture is expanding. The world is hearing about our growth in feeding cattle, corn production, irrigation techniques, and importing water, computerizing ag data, meat packing facilities.
10 years ago, Texas was 15th with 225,000 head of cattle. Now we're in third place, have the fastest growth, and we've bypassed California. We used to ship cattle and Milo west. Now we have the most concentrated feeding areas.
I keep hearing about how it's too dry for maximum production.
That's general chat for this part of the country. I doubt we'll ever be complaining about too much rain. We can always use extra water for our cattle tank.
It's hard to forget how dry the land was in the 40s. Irrigation in the 50s changed production. Texas has been the most underpublicized area in the U.S. compared to its productive capacity. Of course, that never stopped some guys from changing the numbers, but they're all hat and no cattle.
All hat, no cattle?
Boasters with nothing to show for it. Will, weren't you talking with someone about the new packing plants we'll be getting?
Yipper, a lot more within a 100-mile radius. Economics looks healthy with Welshman Company bringing a packing plant to Hereford. In Plainview, they're building a Jimmy Dean factory. It's projected that by 1969, Millions of dollars will be coming via feedlots over the next decade. Western Beef of California is moving its headquarters to Amarillo due to a merger.
Spoken like an economist. Sounds promising.
If it all actually happens.
It will be a welcome change compared to what we went through during the Depression.
Having to shoot cattle because there wasn't enough feed, trying to make money by selling the skins.
That's horrifying.
Government mandate.
It wasn't all bad times. A bunch of us gals would ride our horses to town and have races.
I'm impressed. Just getting up on a horse scares me. I haven't been on a horse since my parents gave me riding lessons when I was a little girl, in a riding habit and boots. I wanted to wear the outfit all the time. Miss Claire, did you ride your horse to school?
No, my daddy drove us in a horse-drawn wagon. We wore pretty dresses, homemade from colorful flour sacks. When we were sick, the doctor and the nurse came to our home by horse and wagon.
Miss Hoity-Toity over there. Some of us kids walked to school unless the weather was really bad. Then we went by wagon, and we thought we were something special. Now Miss Hoity-Toity just looks old.
When I looked Nazareth up in an encyclopedia, it has a picture of you with ornery written underneath.
Sometimes you two are worse than youngsters.
Come on.
Kamala, do you ever wear cowboy boots?
No, but I still have an old pair from my childhood in my hope chest.
Hope chest, that's a girl thing, isn't it?
Can't fool you when they said he wasn't clever.
What were you hoping for by keeping your old boots in a hope chest?
A cowboy.
Gotcha, Grandpa.
George, turn on the radio. It's time for one of those war history segments you like.
Nicely done.
Yipper. How about a game of checkers?
You're on. I'll take red.
Did you hear about little Frank trying to talk Krista into eating cactus fruit?
You can't fart in Nazareth without everyone knowing it. Fortunately, Krista knows better. I bet Frank's behind got red from a switch.
Sounds like something you would do in your youth.
I knew better. Not worth the punishment for some parent spending hours pulling thorns out of some kid's tongue. From what I know, and I know plenty, you weren't an angel girl.
If we're talking about skeletons in closets...
Oh, you two.
Kamala would like these stories. They're part of Nazareth's rich history of community pranks.
Whose kids?
A couple from my first batch, plus other boys.
They chain-linked tires to the school flagpole. They shimmied up the pole. It took several men using a tall ladder to get the tires down.
Dismantling a tractor and reconstructing it on the gym roof was more creative. That was more interesting to look at and dismantle to get it down, too.
My personal favorite was the cannon with sodium chloride, black cat firecracker fuse, and scraps of paper. Quite the sound and visual effect.
We were lucky no one got hurt. Not so lucky with the sled for two constructed out of a rounded car hood and hooked to the back of a pickup. Great fun for the boys in the winter until the sled swung out too far from the back of the truck and crashed into a car. Thank God the injury was only a broken leg and car and driver were okay.
Too bad that great creative energy wasn't used to invent something in a school lab. These stories will be great for my novel about Nazareth. Just kidding.
That reminds me, I'm having 75 for the family reunion dinner. I decided to keep it small this year. Just the immediate family and first cousins. Kamala, you're invited. Don't worry, my school chum, Mother Superior, won't be there.
Thank you. No disrespect, but thanks for letting me know. 75? A small family reunion? My family couldn't scrounge up 10 people, and that would be stretching it. Who's your caterer?
Caterer? Everyone brings food, plus we cook in advance at my place. We'll be making homemade sausage after we slaughter the hogs. Want to help? What's your specialty?
Making reservations, but I'd like to help. I'm great at setting up and clearing, as long as I don't have to kill anything. Jake, what are you working on?
Just killing time.
Looks productive and creative. No murder. Would you teach me?
I like this one. Maybe we'll let her stay. no matter what Mother Superior says. Don't let her bother you. I hope you're not worried. I've had some run-ins with her myself.
No surprise there.
And you two were doing so well.
I don't know. Mother Superior is entitled to her opinion.
I asked a simple question and got a simple answer. I'm disappointed. You might have embellished it with absurdity for entertainment value.
Staying under her radar might be a good idea. I'm going to need a cloaking device to hide from her.
Has anyone ever told you that you're a little weird but interesting?
Yes, it's all an illusion. A little sardonic humor and intuition can enliven a potentially dull personality.
I have a short list of dull people I would like to walk blindfolded in a field where combines are at full throttle. It might make them more interesting, certainly smarter.
It must be nice thinking you're the smartest person in the room.
No, it's awful. Highly overrated.
How special. You don't even need a megaphone to be heard. In your case, troubled genius plus complete fool equals success. Kamala, next time you get involved in a discussion with Jake, don't forget to bring your English to Idiot dictionary to translate. It might add a whole new dimension to your experiences teaching English as a second language to one who considers himself ahead of his class.
I've taken an old-school approach to matters of intellect. Everyone is smart in different ways. Even Einstein's genius was questioned. I approach the world as a writer. I try to listen and watch people and learn. I attempt to entertain an audience. If I wander into something that seems like truth, I consider it a gift. I don't think anyone should decide what truth is or practice ideological bullying by pushing their brand of truth.
I agree. Very little is absolute. Theory and discovery are useful and can lead to what others eventually study as fact. But many great minds had to discover for themselves many of the arts and sciences we now take for granted. Some of those discoveries were trial and error, and some made by accident.
You two could drive a man to drink.
No comment.
Think of it this way. Some people have a bow and arrow mind in a high-caliber pistol world. It's always easy to mess up when you attempt to be honest and tell some form of truth. I try not to make it an occupational hazard.
What scares me is when I'm starting to care about what she says. Since you've been to our church many times, what do you think of our priest's interpretation of Scripture?
You're putting her on the spot.
Kamala's background is different from ours. It's not fair to ask. She enjoys going to church with us. Let's leave it at that.
It's an honest question.
An honest question deserves an honest answer.
That's what I'm afraid of.
King me. Game. I'm not erudite enough to comment on such complex subject, nor would it be appropriate for me to accidentally misquote God.
You ready for chess? Do you want to play?
I have trouble getting into it.
I'll teach you.
Do you always indulge in such deep thinking?
Not enough. Boredom depletes one's soul. I borrow good ideas and quote them when I'm bored.
I would never do that. Why borrow a good idea when you can just steal it?
Go, Grandpa.
What do you think about the Arab-Israeli situation?
Dad!
I'm not politically inclined, but here's my simplified version. It's a global example of the Hatfields and McCoys, except the Middle East situation revolves around centuries of biblical real estate involving a wall and a rock instead of the fence line. Plus, a woman named Sarah who kicked her handmaiden Hagar and child out of the house after Hagar had Sarah's husband's baby with Sarah's approval because Sarah was barren but then got pregnant. Now, there are two women I'd like to interview, plus Hagar's kid, whose offspring led to Muhammad, Islam, and current situation. Interesting family history.
Have you studied the Bible?
I haven't had time to read all scripture. Too many religions, and I'm not smart enough to interpret it all.
I'd like to know more about your family history if you don't mind.
I'm a mutt. My name, Salon, was changed in America because Svetlowski was hard to pronounce.
Shitlowski.
The Reader's Digest version is Svetlowski is a German-Russian name, including my mother's side and the longer family history. I'm a Russo, Germanic, Hungarian, Hispanic, Hebraic, Christian, third-generation American.
I need another beer. Don't say another word. till I get back. Continue.
Dad was born in New York while his parents were visiting there in the early 1900s. They went back to Russia and escaped to America during the Bolshevik uprising. My mom's mother is from Hungary. Her family name is Grossman, Germans who emigrated to America in the early 1900s. My mother's father, a Russian, died before she was born, and she was adopted by my grandma's second husband, a Lichman, was German. Mixed in there are free-thinking Jews, Russian Orthodox Christian, and Jewish Cossacks and Sephardic Jews, posing as Catholics, who held secret Jewish Sabbath services in their darkened basements. There have been many in South Texas. So, Jake, we're practically kin.
How do you keep all that crap straight in your head?
This from a man who wooed his wife with poetry and ruled her with hard work and prose?
Are you trying to impress Kamala with your literary bull? You know deep down I'm crazy about you.
Don't worry, I'm sure it's a temporary psychological aberration.
Nice example you two are setting. Kamala will have lots to share about you both in New York.
This is great. It's like Laurel and Hardy. You two should take your act on the road. Maybe someday I'll write a comedy about you two.
I hate to break up this awe-inspiring discussion, but I have to teach Kamala how to shovel the barn.
What will we be shoveling?
Cow shit. Excuse me, manure.
More like frozen cow patties.
I'd like to read the poem I was working on earlier. It's about my time here. I'd like everyone's input.
Go ahead. We're all ears.
Crops growing next to runways, runways with greenery, panhandle takeoffs and landings, homeward bound. Timeless passages, blinking light at Nazareth crossroad, westerly to Dimmitt, east to Tulia, straight on to Hart. Turn around and back toward Umbarger, the heart of the Panhandle between Amarillo to the north and Lubbock to the south. No matter which route you take, you've missed Nazareth unless you know it's there. Named for the biblical town where much of history began and strife continues. An American example of modern-day Nazareth continues strong yet peaceful. Find the side road unspectacularly marked. The road heads straight on as far as the eye can see. The town toward the spire of Nazareth's only church at the heart of town. In the heart of the Texas Panhandle, faith, family, farm, education reign supreme. Brand new pickups buzz by for a modern way of being in the moment. Football pep rallies, cheerleaders, girls champion varsity basketball. Small school population afloat with academics and a promise of tomorrow's new technology. No fancy private country club here. Church bells play melodic tunes of leadership. A reminder of the town's rhythm as it prepares for weekend events. Fundraisers celebrating German-American heritage, hearkening back generations. The time-space continuum is alive and well here with abiding, protective, Benedictine saintly spirits. Clear skies with clouds afloat with lofty ideals, all seasons moving time and space forward. Harvesting, overlapping, planting in rhythmic motion. Nazareth, thank you for your unforgettable memories.
Lovely.
Nice.
Deep. Very deep.
Clouds afloat with lofty ideas. What's that?
Put a sock in it.
Remember when we made our instruments and Mom played a wash basin?
I remember. Fun.
Uh-huh. It's been a while, but I'm game.
Be right back.
I better see what I can find.
Boxes are more my style.
What are we going to play?
Something Kamala can sing. I've heard her singing at night when she thinks no one is listening.
How are we going to handle Mother Superior's issue about Will and Kamala?
I leave town for 2 days and miss all of the good stuff. What's going on?
Mother Superior thinks Will and Kamala are too friendly. Kamala may be shipped back to New York.
Kamala knows her place and respects her position in the community. Mother Superior is off track there. Even though Will is still a kid, he's too smart to do something stupid.
From such kids come other kids.
Surprise, surprise. I agree with Jake. Kamala's doing fine. Let's not create drama where there isn't any.
Leave what alone?
Nothing. Church matter. Food is still hot.
Grandpa was always good at stretching the truth.
I was teaching Kamala about spring planting.
Planting.
Grandpa Jake was probably thinking something else.
I took lots of notes about Milo, corn, and cotton.
He was a classic. I miss him.
Yep. A pad and a pencil will keep your mind and your hands busy.
Food looks great. I look forward to these Saturday breakfasts in the middle of the day. It's fun. At home, we would never think of eating breakfast for lunch or dinner unless we were sick.
How did the chores go?
Chickens and cows are still there, haven't run away, and are producing milk and eggs. No new developments that I noticed.
Kamala is beginning to work like a real farmer. She got squirted when milking and flapped by a hen when collecting eggs.
I'll be out of pocket this afternoon.
Out of pocket?
I still like those old-timey expressions.
He means going out of the area.
Grandpauser knew how to get lost on purpose.
Where are you headed, Dad?
I miss them all.
So do I, but I have great memories and stories to tell.
I'll know when I get there, or it might be hell if I don't change my ways.
I hear that Purgatory is spending 2 weeks with Willie Nelson at his Texas home.
Funny and clever. It's no wonder so many people in Nazareth are smart. All the hard physical work stimulates their brain cells. Einstein walked to develop his ideas.
We can walk around the sections if you like. After dinner is a good time.
I'd like that.
Have you noticed that life here is in rhythm with the seasons? Fall, winter, spring, and summer each have their specific chores. Some chores are all year round.
Will has been explaining a lot about that. I like that everyone gets involved depending on what help is needed. Men, women, and children. I was surprised the first time many of my students didn't show for class because they were helping with crops.
I hope you're not one of those carpetbaggers who will report us to the National Education Association.
Don't worry, my luggage is quite modern. No carpet bag. And I don't run for office. Just away from it.
Good one.
Back home, I'm surrounded by sardonic humor. Sometimes I learn a thing or two from it all. You make me feel right at home.
I told you I thought we should keep this one. If you think I'm a mess now, this is a big improvement over what I was before I came to Naz.
Jake was a marry to Naz in-law, and now he's just an outlaw. He divorced his first wife. Actually, she left town to marry a priest.
Margaret Mead would be proud of that development. She'd also like the mating ritual of teens who hang out downtown in pickups on weekend evenings.
Who the hell is Margaret Mead?
An anthropologist.
Who likes to study mating rituals. I guess she'd like our family crossbreeding program.
Your what?
It's when a non-Nazareth person like Jake marries into our community.
Yeah, you have to go outside the community if you want to improve the gene pool and find a better looking or smarter mate.
I'm not convinced it worked in your case from the looks of your kids from your first batch. George is a marked improvement. Oh, no doubt to Marge, a remarkable woman.
Mom was a special woman. Dad, why are you still driving at night without a headlight?
It's safer.
It's dangerous.
When I'm drinking and driving, it's less likely the cops will see me.
You're impossible.
What time will the kids be home from Paladura Canyon?
About 4. I gave them breakfast. The nuns packed lunch.
The kids love that trip.
So do you. Why didn't you go?
I had to finish some clothes I'm making. The young ones are growing fast.
Speaking of grandkids, April called me from college. She wants to date a guy she met on campus. He's from Odessa. She wants me to make sure we aren't related to him. He's a schmucker.
April, that's your oldest sister, right?
Huge cast of characters.
Uh-huh.
It's scary that I'm starting to remember all the cast of characters from your family. It was a crash course in getting to know the older ones when they were here over Thanksgiving and Christmas break. Speaking of families, the other day one of the kindergarten kids said hello to me in the hall as if he knew me. I asked him how he knew me, and he said, "My family was talking about you. We're probably related." Cute kid.
Sounds like one of my grandkids. Families are often related in 2 or more ways through marriage. When the kids go to college, it gets interesting. We had one couple who fell in love before they learned they were cousins. It's better to double check. How many cousins do you have?
Will told me a bit about the complicated family relations. At first I thought he was joking. That old southern, I'm my own grandpa humor. I don't have any first cousins. We're a really small family.
How's that?
Mom's only sibling drowned when he was a teen. I never met him. Heard he was a great guy, and my dad's only sibling was a career woman. Got married, but never had children. Not really sure why. A lot of untold stories. Many died during World War II.
Speaking of weddings, Mom, remember when John got married? And after the ceremony, he pushed Sarah in a wheelbarrow down the highway and up the hill to the community hall. Kamala, you need to see that sometime. It's quite a sight. Funny.
It was the highlight of the day. Drew a big crowd.
Has that always been a custom?
It wasn't at the time. John had too much to drink before the ceremony and needed fresh air and time to sober up for the party.
Interesting. I've been meaning to ask, how's the Lion Club conference in New York?
It went well. Usual business matters. Saw some people we know. A little of New York goes a long way. I'm always glad to get home.
We got to visit St. Patrick Cathedral. Ever been there?
A few times. My mother got locked in there.
How'd that happen?
She went in to pray one evening and the priest locked up a little early. He didn't see her. She's small.
You kidding?
True story. She and the priest had a nice visit before he let her out. The priest was interested to know why a woman who was born into Jewish faith would be praying in a church. They talked about how she liked to learn about all religions and felt that God was everywhere.
I hope we get to meet your parents someday. They're always welcome here.
Thank you. Dad's been traveling a lot in his work, plus helping with the local community theater he helped to start, and Mom's teaching and does volunteer work. Maybe we can come to visit in the future. Dad would love it here. He used to have dreams of owning a chicken ranch. He has shelves of farming and ranching books in our home library. When I spoke with my parents, Dad had a lot of questions. Mom said, "You won't get me walking through chicken shit." I appreciate your letting me call them. Excuse my language.
We've heard worse. Besides, that's what it is. You have a library in your home?
Sorta. One room has walls of bookcases filled with books.
Interesting. What's everyday life like in Manhattan these days? I only know what I see in the news.
Bra burning, civil rights marches, anti-war demonstrations. I thought of joining them, but I'm usually too busy. Plus, I don't like crowds, especially angry ones.
What are you busy with?
Work, taking classes, volunteering.
What kind of volunteer work?
At an orphanage.
Since you didn't have younger brothers and sisters to help with, what chores did you have growing up?
Making my bed and keeping my room neat, and getting good grades, staying out of trouble. Once, I almost helped to rake the leaves.
Almost?
I told my dad the leaves made good fertilizer, and he didn't want to argue with me, even though he knew that too many leaves would hurt grass growth. He loves working on the lawn and garden. It's good therapy for him. In high school, I had the daily challenge of choosing the perfectly coordinated outfit, remembering who was driving carpool, and if I had cheerleading, choir, or drama club practice.
You've had some interesting jobs. Do you think you'll eventually choose one with advancement potential? Like in a big corporation?
Been there, done that. It would be more interesting to start at the top and learn as I work my way down.
Gotcha, Grandpa. Looking forward to getting home?
Yes, it's time. Recent events keep reminding me of work to be done. Martin Luther King's assassination, the Civil Rights Act, Bobby Kennedy's assassination. There will be educational changes in Manhattan reflecting all that. I want to be a part of it, to help. Our country's in crisis.
I'll probably feel that effect at college in the fall.
I'm going to miss this place. I'm taking part of it with me. You will too.
What will you miss the most? Your students?
They were great, but the way of life impressed me the most. I won't be able to look at New York in the same way. I feel more connected to the earth. Everything I do now will be compared to how you're all part of the seasons and the beginning and ending of everything in nature. Remember when you told me that it's strange that nature prepares each of the species with survival techniques, and each of the species must prepare survival techniques against nature?
Yipper.
You were right. It's a strange contradiction, yet unavoidable.
Nice girl. I'll miss her.
Aw, how sweet.
All of you know how to survive. You understand that land has a spirit of its own. You don't presume to rule it like others who don't really understand it. If something cataclysmic is predicted for the earth, I'm coming here. You know how to take care of the land and each other. You'll know how to rebuild.
The tutor learned from the student. I hope that going to church every week wasn't too boring.
Not at all. God is everywhere. I've enjoyed the rituals and celebrations, the rhythm of the families praying, working the land, and learning together. I'll remember it all. Keep on asking, what color is the wind?
She adapted better than I thought she would.
You sure did. He liked you.
Remember to dream and become what you want. The desire to become is hope.
I hope you'll always be a philosopher farmer, no matter what you decide to major in. I suspect your mind will wrap itself around computers, economics, and big business. Au revoir, mon ami.
So long, my friend. Right back at you.
I surprised you with this one.
I'm impressed.
You were always full of surprises.
Still think blue jeans, cowboy hat, and boots means illiterate?
Still think New Yorker means belligerent, loud, and know-it-all?
Still think all a cowboy needs is an expensive saddle, deluxe ranch, and a good-looking woman with a pickup?
I was sad and had to cover with humor.
About as much as you think a New York lady needs a 2-carat diamond, 3-story custom townhome, and a Wall Street banker with a limo.
Same here.
Good thing she's going back to New York and Will is headed for college.
Amen to that.
Thanksgiving, 1968. Kamala. You said I should write and let you know how I'm doing at college. I have some interesting professors. I'm doing extra work for a couple of them. It involves research. I hope you're doing well and settle back into your New York life. I hope this doesn't involve your being in the middle of anti-war and civil rights demonstrations, especially following the King and Kennedy assassinations and the recent Nixon election. After you left Naz, things got back to normal. Just kidding. Things are usually normal in Naz. I'm not going home for Thanksgiving because it's a long train trip for such a short break. I'll go home for Christmas break. I enjoyed the train trip here. I like riding the rails. Even though I miss harvest and wheat seeding, I'm needed at home. I know it's time to move on. Living in a dorm is okay, but next year I'll probably rent a house near campus with friends. I bought a bike to get around campus and for biking trips with friends. I'm playing racquetball. I enjoyed having you for an English mentor and enjoyed our long talks on other subjects. Mom and Dad appreciated the letter and gift you sent after you left. The younger kids asked about you. Best wishes, Will.
Spring 1969. Will. Over Thanksgiving, I was visiting with my parents on Long Island and received your letter. It was good to hear from you and that you're enjoying college. I've been working with gifted and challenged elementary school students in Manhattan within walking distance from my apartment. I like the walks. Riding buses and subways aren't for me, especially since Nazareth. I want to feel the ground beneath my feet. The principal almost fired me because I don't always follow the core curriculum. He gave me a space at the end of the hallway and told teachers to send their troublemakers to work with me. Ironically, well-behaved kids are acting up so they can work in the hall with me and the other kids. I'm taking evening classes in film production at NYU. I'm trying to increase student learning via a multimedia approach. My film instructor recommended me for a product assistant job for the U.S. Information Agency at Saigon office to work on an educational film about the Vietnam War. I was asked if I was a hawk or a dove. My participation in a peaceful anti-war candlelight walk down Fifth Avenue eliminated me, but it was a blessing in disguise. The office was damaged by bombs in the Battle of Saigon. I almost got engaged, but I'm not ready to be a wife and have 2.5 kids. When Golda Meir became Israel's PM, I rethought my opinions. No, I'm not moving to Israel and joining their army, and I'm not going on civil rights marches. I've channeled that energy and interviewed A. Philip Randolph, a civil rights leader who worked with Martin Luther King. I'm creating a children's story about him. It's hard not to think about Nazareth at this time of year. I miss the farm chores, field excursions, and nature coming back to life after the frigid winter. I also miss the winter indoor activities. People chuckle when I tell them it took walking through a golden wheat field to fully appreciate 4 amber waves of grain from America the Beautiful. I still don't know who I want to be when I grow up. Kamala. P.S. This is the closest I can get to a Reader's Digest kind of letter to satisfy your need for short and to the point. The weather report is clear with no sign of Chicken Little falling.
Christmas, 1969. Kamala. Thanks for your spring letter. You certainly have been busy and remaining true to your nature by staying away from too much political intrigue and unrest, including our Nixon administration. I notice you stay away from the subject, so I won't go there. College is still interesting. Lots of classwork and studying, but also other activities. I rented a house with friends. I have my own room for the first time in my life. We share the rest of the house and rent out the basement apartment to a guy who remains a bit of a mystery, but he pays the rent on time. I was home all summer. It felt good harvesting wheat, hoeing weeds out of the cotton fields, and garden and fruit tree picking for canning. Grandma and Grandpa needed help with their cattle. They're still feuding and say hi. Grandma isn't doing well, and Mother Superior came to visit with her. Mother Superior still grimaces when your name comes up. Don't take it personally. Some things never change. Over Thanksgiving, I was invited for dinner at the home of one of my professors. It was very nice, and other students were there, but I missed Thanksgiving at home with my family. Where were you when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon? I was hoeing weeds in the cotton field, looked up at the sky and hoped I would fly a plane someday. Did you go to Woodstock? Christmas is great as usual in Naz. Mom and Dad wish you a happy holiday. I hope you're enjoying the holiday with family and friends. Best, Will. Thought for the new year. Vision is a strange thing. It isn't the person with the best eyesight, the best corrected lenses, highest ground, or competitive advantage who has the best vision. Rather, it is the person who is willing to try something new.
Spring 1970. Will, it's great you're sharing a house with friends. It sounds like you had a good summer and holidays. I guess you can take the guy away from the farm and ranch, but not take the farm or ranch out of the guy. Last summer, I camped with friends across Canada. During the moonwalk, I was on a beach in Vancouver, Canada. I flew home after a visit in California instead of camping back across the United States. I guess I'm not the rough it type. I didn't go to Woodstock. I don't like crowds or porta potties. Years ago, before I went to Nazareth, I attended a Marshall McLuhan conference about how the media affects student learning. It inspired me to get a summer job as a production intern at ABC TV. I worked with the worldwide news film critic who reviewed film sent from field reporters called Stringers. I worked down the hall from Peter Jennings, the news anchor. I assisted a team by President Johnson's Commission on Civil Disorders, which evaluated civil unrest news footage. I learned how the media shapes how and what we learn. I am now able to use what I learned in my current job in documentary and news film production. I am still doing volunteer work with kids, taking dance lessons, and practicing my singing in the shower. I tried a couple of New York auditions, but it's an experience in rejection. 500 hopefuls for a few roles. I tried waiting tables on weekends for a new experience. Interesting, but I didn't like all the smoking and drinking. Ironically, I made more money on the weekend than I did all week at my day job. I found a new respect for servers. It's an exciting time to be in New York, much to learn and explore. My parents are nearing retirement age. They'll be spending part of the winter in Florida. I might divide my time between New York and Florida. My 80-ish grandma lives in Manhattan, and she'll need my help. I'm sorry to hear that your grandma isn't doing well. Please give her and everyone my best. Take good care. Kamala. Thought for you. It's exciting when you don't understand something, and suddenly you get it. Where was the answer hiding?
New Year's Eve, 1970. Kamala. I'm home on holiday break. Today has been really cold. It's one of those indoor activity nights, but without Grandma. She passed away over Thanksgiving. I couldn't go home for the funeral. Her passing is a milestone in my life. She played a big part in my growing up. It has been a strange year news-wise. Kent State campus deaths, gay rights parades, Janis Joplin's death from drugs and alcohol, and the release of the Beatles' last album. Mom, Dad, and I were talking about the poem you read when you were here. Now that I have had more lit courses, I can appreciate the depth of your writing. I may not always express it, but your creative interests are important. I hope you continue to pursue them. Only a year and a half before I graduate. It's a great campus. I'd like you to see it. My schedule will be packed till just before graduation. Would you come then? The basement renter will be moving out, and you can have that space. I have an ulterior motive. Actually, two. After graduation, an international company wants me to work at their main campus in New Jersey. I'll be living in New Jersey for a while. I would really like it if you'd show me around Manhattan. Also, the wife of my economics professor is in the education department. I told her about your multimedia work with kids, and she'd like to meet you. She's familiar with the McLuhan's work. No pressure to reply right away. I imagine you flitting between New York and Florida. Will. Thought for the new year. When exploring the unknown, the least risk is to practice your experience, but you learn the least also.
Fall 1971. Will. Sorry for the delay in writing. Much has happened personally and professionally. I hope you and your parents receive my condolence cards. Re, your grandma's passing. You were right about my going back and forth between New York and Florida. I helped my grandma move to Florida to be near my parents, and she passed away down there. Like you and your grandma, it was a milestone for me. My earliest memories are filled with her. My family was invited to opening day of Disney World in Orlando. I might work there next summer. I've been juggling private language arts tutoring with theater work. Getting acting jobs in Florida has been easier than in Manhattan. Tutoring gives me the schedule flexibility I need and keeps me in touch with kids and educational processes. I've been performing with interesting and talented people. Right now, I'm in D.C. and researching if American welfare families might benefit educationally and economically from an Israeli kibbutz lifestyle in the U.S. The role of lifestyles and educational processes in creating economic stability intrigues me, especially since my time in Nazareth. Some of Golda Meir's ideas are also seeping into my consciousness. She was a teacher in the U.S. before immigrating to Israel. I can hear you thinking, and no, I'm not moving to Israel and joining their army. Thank you for the invite to your college. I like your ulterior motives. I'm impressed that you're sought after by a big company, but I'm not surprised. As we get closer to spring, I'll let you know my travel arrangements. I assume you'll be picking me up at the airport on your bicycle. I'll pack light. I've added another role model to my list since Indira Gandhi has been re-elected as PM of India. I wonder if she and Golda can do lunch and compare notes on being women world leaders. With a grin, Kamala. Thoughts to entertain you. Sometimes life feels like pushing against the Sea of Galilee, salt and all. The arts allows me to get lost in time and space and healed by the journey, except for Shakespeare's plays. They have too much dying, ugly clothes, and poetic dialogue irritating to the ear. Maybe not knowing is better. Maybe living with hope is more productive.
It's good to hear your voice. How are you? Kamala, I'm still your mother. Please don't call me Miriam. I may want to be your friend, but I like my position as mother. Are you coming out this weekend? Solomon, it's Kamala. Pick up the extension. She's coming for the weekend and bringing her Texas friend.
Hi, sweetie. Are you bringing your friend Will? How could I forget you in the nunnery? Will's a nice boy. It'll be good to see him again. Boy or man, you know your friends are always welcome. Come out Friday night. We're headed to the beach club early Saturday. You know how I hate the afternoon sun. We'll celebrate your birthday and my retirement. This time I'm really retiring, and Mom's quitting her teaching job. We want to travel more. More about that when we see you.
Honey, your dating habits resemble the United Nations, and you know we have an open mind. But aren't you a little old for this young man?
In the grand scheme of things, age is timeless.
You know what I mean. Never mind. It'll be nice to see Will again. Be safe. Love ya.
Bye, sweetie.
Solomon?
I'm right here. This ought to be interesting. And don't look at me in that tone of voice. I'm only her father.
I'm sure everything will be just fine.
The sign says "Now stop," just like a red stop sign. If you stop, buy a snack and head down the highway. You've missed an opportunity. Hidden behind Now Stop store, 1 block to the east, you can turn north and head straight to the end at steps of the Holy Family, the church, gateway to the heart and spirit of Nazareth.
40% of those who visit Now Stop are local regulars. 60% pass through not knowing what they've missed. Nazareth isn't just another small Texas town.
It's not Israel's Nazareth, it's the Texas Panhandle's Nazareth. Some call it the busiest small town in Texas. Fields with crops, grass, soil, and sky as far as the eye can see.
Nazareth goes through the tune and rhythm of its own. Listen as the church bells chime on the half hour. They will call you in rhythm with the call of the land. Let the spirit of Nazareth take you in.
Everything was green not long ago when the rains came. It's that time of year again when some harvest milo and corn, others seed wheat. Due to the recent lack of moisture, some have dry seeded, others are waiting for moisture, just the right amount. If it's too wet, we can't go into the fields.
It would be so simple if we could go back. Know again the wonder and the ease of acceptance, with the kind of understanding that only time and oncoming generations produce. But the nearest to such a return that we can manage is by losing ourselves in the constant miracle of the seasonal changes of the earth, the first stirring of the beginning of life.
We cannot really participate, but we can feel it, see it, and to some degree understand it. And insofar as we do understand it, we know that life is not only reality, but inevitability. It is true that we are not ants or lizards, that we do not have roots literally in the soil like an oak tree, but we are of the kind because we participate in a rhythm that dominates all life.
We are members of that vast community of life, not merely of the community of our own kind. We are part of something bigger than ourselves, more enduring than the human crowd. We are part of enduring forces, the great surge of life.
We make the mistake of considering ripeness as completion, the ultimate achievement. But that is not so. It is only another beginning. Consider this if you will. The ripened apple is a parcel of seeds, pregnant with more apple trees, more apples, more seeds. The discarded and fallen leaves become natural humus, an untidy litter out of which grow more trees and more leaves, more humus.
So it is that no season is ever really ended because it flows from one season into another in a never-ending cycle of life pattern of which we are participants, and that, wherever or whatever is the nature of time, we should always know that the present existing moment, this day, this particular fragment of eternity, and to go on from there, ever hopeful to believe in and dream of the coming future.
Although Will lived and worked throughout much of the U.S. and traveled overseas during the course of his career, he always knew that his family, community, church, school, and the golden spread way of life in Nazareth were at the core of who he was.
Samuel Coleridge wrote in the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, "Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink." Nazareth isn't surrounded by the sea or plentiful lakes, and its water supply draws from the Ogallala Aquifer. Its future is questionable. Irrigation is a wonderful thing. Our irrigation systems looms on the horizon like Paleolithic creatures. There won't be a bell tolling its warning just before that last drop of water is spent, and the sand becomes our enemy. Wind turbines will create remarkable electricity from our rich supply of wind, and Nazareth ingenuity will reign supreme as it always has.
During the decades Will and I had together, this New York gal learned through Will that the golden spread was alive and well in him and in Nazareth. Memories merged the past, present, and future. Will and I may have met in midlife in a city far from our hometown.
But we embraced the what if. We created an imaginary journey of how we might have met because we wanted more time together. We felt that we can imagine, we can create. And even if some of the Texas Panhandle way of life is changing and some towns are disappearing, memories and relationships are forever, and Nazareth is thriving.
Sometimes we have to leave home and travel far and wide to find our true north, true love. The boy or girl next door is sometimes thousands of miles or years away.
And life is often about the unpredictable nature of time and space. When we embrace that, anything can happen.
Heart of my heart, soul of my soul, timeless passages, together always, yet years and geography apart. But for a quart of the time-space continuum, we would have begun together much younger, now separated by your passing spirit. Without you, yearning to be with you in Nazareth, where we wished we might have met in our younger years. How do we tweak the time-space continuum that we might be together, younger, more time together? There's modern-day power in the wind turbines, but where is the power to change our separation?
The saga continues, a tale of epic proportions, of lovers separated by a journey, lovers tested by time together, a journey required by disappearing time, a desire to be together managed by a need to be apart, love to be continued. The land calls in a timeless rhythm. Spiritual ties bind one to the other. Old Jerusalem and Nazareth anew in America, the Holy Land, birthplace of Nazareth spirit. The story began in the old country, Germany. Families searching for a new life. The Panhandle called out to them. Homesteads created, preserved and honored with 100-year celebrations. Past, present, and future seem separate, yet are the same. The vision for Nazareth is alive within spirit, mind, and body. It's a pathway to peace as the power of creation provides endless renewal. Nazareth holds a promise to live forever in those to come. Listen for the beckoning church bells. See the trees sway with the Panhandle wind. Hear the music of the wind at your ears as it moves you along dusty roads. Watch for the majestic sunset on the golden spread day. The wind drives the sound of Nazareth past, present, and future. Faith, family, land, education. Yet, in the stillness, a voice asked, "What color is the wind?"
Gift from the Panhandle is an audiovisual, historical, dramatic comedy which celebrates the living legacy of Nazareth, Texas, hidden between Amarillo and Lubbock in the Texas Panhandle. Generations of families continue to nurture Nazareth's traditions and its future and help to make this project possible with their input, support, and reading of the play. Nazareth is called the busiest small town in Texas.
Even if you brush in a rush, Brits Fluoride Toothpaste starts instant action against tooth decay. Brits, B-R-I-S-K, Brits